Hello, and welcome to week two of American Literature One. This week we are moving from indigenous literatures and the oral traditions of indigenous people to the early colonizers. So, specifically, we're going to spend some time looking at the words of Christopher Columbus in his letter of discovery. This is the letter that he sends upon discovering the New World, as well as a letter that he sends to Ferdinand and Isabella, who are the the Spanish royalty that funds his trip. And this letter is the occasion for this letter is the fourth voyage. At the same time that we're taking a look at Columbus, we'll be thinking about the words and ideas of one of his contemporaries named Bartolome de las Casas. Las Casas is really sort of rejecting some of the excesses of colonialism and is quite a critic of Columbus. He is in opposition to what he sees as the torture and genocide of indigenous peoples. One of the things that becomes sort of complicated about a figure like De las Casas is that although he is an early advocate for indigenous peoples, he ultimately believes that indigenous slavery can be replaced with African slavery, the slavery of Africans. He does ultimately move away from this position later in life, but it complicates him as a figure, and it's something that we will think about and contend with as we look at the material this week. I'm also going to have you read the first chapter of Howard Zinn's A People's History. The chapter is called Columbus, the Indians, and Human Progress. And I think that you will find Howard Zinn's work is fairly similar to Roxanne Dunbar Ortiz. In fact, the two books come out of the same series, which exists under the umbrella of the Zinn Education Project. Howard Zinn is a deceased historian, and so there are others who are carrying on his work in a similar vein. But we'll take a look at the introduction, which I think will refamiliarize you with a history that you may already be familiar with, but some of the details of his accounts are quite shocking. So, just as a bit of a warning there. As before, at the top of the screen, you have what can be considered a kind of assignment notebook. And so you have your readings, read the letter of discovery, the letter to Ferdinand and Isabella. These are both in the Norton Anthology, although, again, I've done my best to find versions and posted them here. I will do that whenever possible. You will also read Devastation of the Indies, and I've included some videos. There's actually a really great video reenactment of this speech that's given that I've posted here for you as well. You'll view all the Blackboard content, which will give you a little more biographical information about Columbus and De las Casas. And then your written assignment this week is first to put forward a discussion post that will be due on Wednesday, January 31st. And then between Thursday and Sunday, you'll read your classmates' posts and you'll choose a classmate that you want to respond to. There's not a particular length for these assignments, but you want to make sure that you thoroughly answer the questions. You're really probably looking at about a paragraph per question. And then when you respond to your classmate, that should also be a substantial response. So looking for one, maybe two paragraphs. Remember that this written dialogue is taking the place of in-person, like verbal discussions. And so this is the way that we can share and generate knowledge together. I suggest that you maybe take a look at the questions for the discussion board post so that you'll know what kind of information you'll want to be reading for as you take a look at the videos and reading material that's organized here. So if I scroll down to the bottom of the page, here are the questions that I'm going to be asked to think about. And so the first one, after reading chapter 1 of Howard Zinn's A People's History, what sticks out to you? Was there anything that you found shocking or surprising? Why or why not? How does Zinn's A People's History compare to Dunbar Ortiz's An Indigenous People's History of the United States? Second question, after reading Columbus's letters, what's his attitude towards the New World? How does he talk about the land and the people? And what might this tell us about his motivations or even his character? I want you to then compare that version of Columbus to Bartolome de las Casas. How do they differ in their representation of the land and the people? Are there any places where this representation maybe overlaps or where there seem to be some similarities in the way that they are discussing the New World? Finally, the video on De Los Casas ends by suggesting that even though he's a complicated figure, we can't judge the figures of the past using the social mores or the social morality of the present. I'm wondering how much you agree with that. Certainly, there has been a lot of controversy over the past couple of years, particularly surrounding the figure of Columbus. In fact, right here in New Haven, we removed a Columbus statue. So, do you agree with this idea that we cannot judge the figures of the past using the social mores of the present? And if that idea is directed at someone like De las Casas, who is perhaps a little bit more benign, can it also be extended to figures like Columbus? So please consider the information from the videos and the biographical information when you are responding to these questions. I look forward to engaging in an exchange with you this week.